Polypede Works here coming to you once again with One Piece chapter 1186 entitled Once More. So all those Brook and Gunko videos seem to have paid off because we called quite a bit, and all of that we called is confirmed in this chapter. So the Kingdom of Asperia is being overrun with world government grunts, both Marines and what seems to be Safrapol alike, and the battle convoy is being overwhelmed by them. Brook, meanwhile, is having a crisis as he comes upon the scene of Shuri slaying the king, King Ruvian. Brook rushes to the king's side and tries to wake him. However, it's of no use as the king is dead. That's when Shuri says, "You know that guy is dead, right?" But instead of accusing Shuri of wrongdoing, Brook aims his sword at the large gentleman that we met last chapter. But then Shuri tells Brook that she is a celestial dragon and that King Ruvian is not her father. Brook flips out, but Shuri insists that she is a celestial dragon, and that demand from the world government for 1,000 slaves was not true. King Ruvian just didn't want to hand Princess Shuri over to the celestial dragon, and she accuses the king of leading his people to doom, which we don't know if that's true, but that's very possible to be true because it seems very deliberate, and it seems like Ruvian knew the whole time. I'm willing to bet that he did. And for denying her of her birthright is the reason why she killed him, even though this is probably just a bunch of emu meddling from the looks of both she and Ruvian being possessed by Diamond Reversi, but still. And yeah, Brook says that the defeat of the nation will make the land a lawless land, which, looking at where we are, it seems like Asperia was still our bark. That's what it's looking like now. But that's when the big gentleman interrupts and says, "I remember you. There was a kid with an afro among Candle's attendants, and we are introduced to Holy Knight Saint Manmayer Grow." Now, the funny part about this is that I have to give a shout out to a mod on my Discord, the Digital Burrow, who goes by Mini, because he said, or at least he brought up to me, that there was a theory going around. When Candle got sick, when the celestial dragon ship arrived, or the world government ship arrived, that is when she and Grow had relations. And the guy that she's talking about to Brook and saying that he was out of her league, that was Grow. So it was never really about King Ruvian this entire time. It was about Grow this whole time. And as we see, Grow actually has heterochromia like Shuri or Gunko. So now I'm wondering, who exactly is that Pizza Hat girl? Because looking at Grow, he has the same kind of hat as her. It's more of a aviator style, like what Gunko would wear currently in the series, but it has a poofy top like the Pizza Hat girl. So it's a combination of their two hats. So I wonder, is that Pizza Hat girl who never shows her eyes, I wonder if that technically is Gunko's sister, which would make her even more like Loki, because now both Loki and Gunko and Ali Bonnie all have weird familial ties. Now all of them have like these weird birth traits attached to them, because Bonnie had the affliction of the sapphire scale disease, Loki has weird demon eyes, and Gunko or Shuri has heterochromia. And as Grow goes on to explain, it seems like her eyes have a similar power to those of Pudding. And believe it or not, in my Gunko for Straw Hat video, I suggested this, and it turned out to be true. That's amazing. So shout out to my mod for bringing that information to my attention about how Grow, or possibly someone in the world government, was actually the father of Shuri. And I have to say, I'm kind of astonished how Bonnie, Loki, and Gunko all sort of feed into one another, because what's also quite weird is that both Gunko and Bonnie now are children of celestial dragons, and I'm willing to bet both of them are children of holy knights. I could see it. It would make a lot of sense. I've always said that I think Bonnie is actually the child of Figurlin Shamrock. And now we see that Gunko or Shuri is the child of Saint Manmayer Grow. So that's interesting. And on top of all that, what makes this even more interesting is that now all three of them are connected to the crown of a kingdom, as Loki is the Prince of Elbath. His father was King Harold. Bonnie is technically the princess of the Sorbet Kingdom, and her father was King Kuma. And then, like Shuri here, Kuma's not her real father. And then, of course, Gunko was the daughter of King Ruvian and Queen Kando, but King Ruvian was not her real father. It was actually Manmayer Grow. So all three of them align with one another very interestingly. I like that a lot. But the reason why Brook doesn't know Grow is because apparently he wasn't allowed to go near Grow during the times in which Grow visited the kingdom. And it also makes me think that Grow is the reason why Candle died and the kingdom was enveloped in fog that turned into smog, because it wouldn't be the first time. Remember, Magnolia, the mother of Shamrock and Shanks, was struck down by Garling. So they have a habit of killing their mistresses, which is crazy, but it's true. So moving on with the chapter, like I said, we do find out that it seems like the heterochromia of Grow and Gunko actually means something, and Gunko has some sort of hidden power. This is what I mean when I say that when things are being built up for a character, they lead into that character being important in the future. Because you wouldn't be building her up like this and giving her all these weird physiological traits and powers if she wasn't going to be interesting, if she didn't have more story to go. So I think I was right. She very well could be a Straw Hat in the future. It's looking like that because the stack is too high now. There are too many things going on for her. And that's when Emu admonishes Grow, saying that he said too much. Grow apologizes, and Shuri, possessed by Emu, approaches Brook with very sinister intent, and he cannot take it, but he is on his guard. She continues and says, I deserve stronger protection. If I go to the Holy Land now, I won't need you anymore. Brook is in tears. Shuri prepares a thrust, and bam! She stabs Brook right through the head. Now, a little while ago, I made a video talking about how I think Brook's scar is going to matter. Here it is. Here it is. And now we know why he has it as a skeleton, because this was a deep cut. This is straight through the cranium, right through the skull. So that's why his skull can open now as a skeleton, because I guess that wound never truly healed and it stayed with him even in death. So that's interesting. That's super interesting. But it wasn't a fatal blow, as when she stabbed him, she missed all the major blood vessels in his head and his brainstem. And it's weird because I guess she technically stabbed his brain, because when he's recovering in the sickbay, it seems like she did damage to his brain, but it's unclear. Though that doesn't matter now because he doesn't have a brain. It's true though. It's true. But yeah, Brook can't remember anything at that moment in time. But yeah, the king is dead. And it seems like, based on what goes on afterward, the kingdom just falls without Ruvian, and all the citizens have fled and now are refugees. So I wonder, where did all the people go? What islands did they settle in the West Blue? And I do think after this happened, Esperia was probably emptied out, because we know Brook left eventually. So yeah, Esperia is a very interesting candidate to become Thriller Bark. We'll have to wait and see. And that would be bone chilling, not to make the pun, if it was Thriller Bark. Or technically if it is Thriller Bark, because Thriller Bark still exists. Now, returning to the present. Back then, he says, Brook in the present, I didn't even know what a devil fruit was. So this also confirms that Brook didn't have his devil fruit until he became a pirate, until he was actually on the sea, which kind of lines up with what we've been seeing so far in the series, because a lot of people out in the boonies of these blues don't really know about powers unless there's just a guy on their island who has powers and he explains to them what happened. So yeah, that checks out. It does check out. And he goes on to say, the princess seemed so different after the king's murder. It was chilling. She looked just like a demon. So at the time, he thought these were hallucinations. But no, after what he's seen on Elbaf in the present, he's starting to connect the dots, which makes a lot of sense. Because he goes on to say, but I always thought I was hallucinating. If that was actually real though, and then he addresses the crew, do you think it's okay if I put my faith in Princess Shuri one more time? If she is a victim, then I want to save her, Princess Shuri. And this marks her redemption. There is no way that we're leaving the island without her. What an interesting development this is. How interesting it is to be right. And shout out to that commenter, Evil Monkey. Shout out to you too, because I wasn't going to make the video about her possibly joining. Nah, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did, because it was always an idea in the back of my head. So thank you, if you're watching this, for bringing that to the forefront for me. Yes. Okay. She's joining. Ain't no way. So yeah, my theory could be true. We could be leaving with Loki, Shuri, and Bonnie. And that's when Brook goes on to say, please, everyone, lend me your strength. Jinbei says, no need to be so formal. Let's hurry and smash that ice. Nami says, I wonder if lightning will do the trick. Frankie, crying, says a radical beam is our best bet. And Usopp is panicked because explosions don't work. Brook then runs off to the ice block crying. And I wonder if he would have any effect on the ice block, because he does have cryokinesis, but I don't know if he would have any effect, even though I guess you could say his ice is technically magic ice. So that's a thought. And yeah, while frozen, Gunko does not seem like she's possessed by Emu, because she has no bat wings on her back. So yeah. As the story continues, back at the Warrior School cafeteria, Luffy has eaten his fill and blasts off to confront Emu. Meanwhile, Loki and Emu are still fighting, and Loki chastises Emu for being a coward and using children as leverage. And Emu explains, 800 years ago, the giant race were defeated in a bid to rescue their children. And just goes on to say, you all will always fall when your children are being threatened. That's why you're so easy to make slaves. And that's when Luffy hits him with the Charlos punch like he did back on Sabaody Archipelago. Bam! Right in the kisser. Emu gets it. Oh man, how nostalgic. Punching the king of the celestial dragons like this, and with a Conqueror's infused punch no less. Woo! This is good. This is real good. I like this. Excellent chapter. Excellent chapter. Luffy's on the scene. The fact that Luffy hits him while in base is crazy. That is a crazy boost, bruh. He attacks him in base, so there's no telling what's going to happen when Gear 5th shows up. Oh, this is great. All right, that's the end of our chapter. So a lot of theories came true, and I'll be linking those theories throughout the video so you can give them a watch. But yeah, good chapter. Good chapter. I like it a lot. Also, it's very funny that in my Three Musketeers video talking about how the Straw Hats might get 3 swordsmen in the future, and Gunko being the fulfillment of that beautiful female swordsman with meat lie, it's funny that I said heterochromia is often seen as an attractive trait, because apparently Candle saw it that way too. Candle saw it that way too with Man Mayor Grow. And now we know where the Man Mayor comes from, because that was completely absent all this time. So I'm glad we got the origins of that. So yeah, that's funny. That's real funny. But yep, no break next week. And with all that being said, if you're enjoying the content so far, give me a like. And if you want to see more from me, hit the subscribe button, followed by that bell so you never miss a video. In addition to, hit that hype button because it really does help. And with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede Works.